Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing one of their past projects. We will let you decide if it was good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here is today's Badassery Bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is 4 free ways to find deals. The first free way to find deals are for sale by owners, or as we like to say, FSBOs. These are properties that are being sold by individuals without the use of a realtor. You can find FSBO listings on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and some areas actually have FSBO websites for sellers to list their property for free. Number 2, social media. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, even TikTok are all platforms for you to advertise to all your friends and followers. You should post any and everything you do with real estate, whether it's before and after photos, coming soon properties, educational events, etc. When your friends hear of someone looking to sell their distressed property, you should be the first one they think of. Number 3, door knocking. Now, this is not the safest technique to find deals, but it certainly doesn't cost a thing. If you see a property in your neighborhood that's been vacant for a while and then all of a sudden there's a car in the driveway, absolutely knock on the door and ask if they'd be open to selling their house. When we are rehabbing properties, we will introduce ourselves to all the neighbors and drop off our business card. We also let them know that we love their neighborhood and if they are ever interested in selling, to please call us first. The fourth and final free way to find leads is from wholesalers. Wholesalers are real estate investors that have a property under contract and then assign that contract to you for a fee. You can find local wholesalers at meetups or in Facebook groups. If you find a good one, you should call them on a regular basis. When you call, just say, "Hey, you have anything coming down the pike?" And they may have just hung up with a seller, and instead of having to upload all the pictures and email their buyer's list, you can wrap it up in the next hour. So stop saying marketing is so expensive when there is low-hanging fruit all around you waiting to turn into your next deal. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Kimi Crombie. Kimi has worked in human resources for over 10 years. Communications and helping people are her forte, for she is often called upon, professionally and personally, to gently assist people in solution-focused interpersonal communication. She recently added real estate investor to her job title when she joined the Homeschooled by Tark coaching program in October of 2021. We get to hear about her first real estate venture, so welcome to the show, Kimi.
Thank you.
Yay! I'm so happy to have you on the show. You are so much fun. You are a student, but you have just mastered this topic we're going to be talking about today, which is actually Airbnb. And it's your first Airbnb that we're going to be going over. And I have been following you from day one when you got this under contract. So it is awesome. I have this platform for you to share it with everyone because you learned so many things from this experience. But before we begin, tell us a little bit how you got involved in real estate.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm happy to be here today. This is so exciting. And you really have been with me since day one, so I love that.
That is true.
Truly. And so how I got involved with real estate, kind of a long story, but I'll make it really brief. I have always wanted to be involved in real estate way before the super popular HGTV and other shows were on TV. I just really had this calling. And then fast forward a little bit, and those shows started becoming more and more popular and kind of got a following. And when I bought my first house in 2013, my daughter was an infant. And I lived in that house while I flipped it and ended up selling it just recently within the past 2 years and made a great profit off of it, and decided that I really wanted to reinvest that money again into real estate as much as possible. But I knew that I needed a solid foundation to do that with. So that's why I chose Homeschooled by Tarek and people that I know, trust, and obviously have grown to love and cultivate relationships with now, which is a huge perk also.
Definitely. And, you do all the right things in this education program. You are active, you are in the Facebook group, you are on the calls, and you're participating, and it makes a huge difference. And there are people who pay into this program and they have yet to even get on any of the calls. And I'm like, what are you doing? So bravo to you. You invested in yourself, in your education, and you took advantage of every aspect of it. So awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's dive into this. This is a past project, not really, because it's a buy and hold, but you have purchased it, you have started it as an Airbnb, and I want to hear all about it. So tell us about the property itself.
Okay, so the property itself was appealing to me because of the area. So I've always wanted a place that I could go on vacation, somewhere sunny and warm. Being from the Pacific Northwest, it is so gray and rainy. It's like 46 and rainy all the time, about 8 months of the year. And so the area itself was appealing. This particular property, it's a small little condo, very cute, very homey. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom. It was built in 1979, and it's in a very quiet, very safe area. But the complex itself is also, it's really kind of like a retreat, I would call it. And it's close. It's 3 to 5 minutes outside of Old Town Scottsdale, and that's a highly desirable area to be in. So tons of basis for appeal there, and I personally love it.
So you live in Washington, correct?
I do.
And the property is where?
In Scottsdale, Arizona.
And how far is that from your house?
Well, it's about a 2.5-hour plane ride. And if I can get the right flights out of this small little airport that I love close to my home, it's less than half a day of travel, so to speak. So I can leave here at we'll just say 8:30 in the morning, and I can be settled at my condo by lunchtime.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not horrible.
Yeah.
But for the listeners, though, I mean, you bought something like way far away, and I hope you get into all the details on how you run this, because that to me is a little nerve-wracking. I have the furthest away property we own is 3 hours away, so I could literally get in the car and be there in 3 hours if need be. Well, 2.5 if I was nervous, but so we'll get into that in a second. But how did you find this property?
It was an MLS deal,
okay.
Ironically. Yeah.
And I mean, you say ironically because it's tough to find deals on the MLS right now.
Oh my gosh. So yes, I had been looking for, I want to say probably 2 or 3 months before I found this one. And I had looked at, this is going to sound crazy, over 60 properties. So when I've traveled to Arizona prior to buying this particular unit, I toured probably 20 of those 60 that I thought, and the rest were virtual tours online, which is great. It's an awesome tool to have, but I looked a lot before I found it. And I actually found this one. So it was random. I was boarding a plane to go to Arizona to get boots on the ground and do more research in the area and go outside of that prime location that I wanted to be in just to see what was around. And boarding the plane, got an alert on my phone that this property came available, and I, no joke, picked up the phone from the plane as we're about to get buckled in and take off, and called my agent and said, hey, this just came on the market. This is how I want the offer structured. Send me the docs. I'll have Wi-Fi in 10 minutes. Thanks. And he was like, you got it. done.
Wow. So you bought it, you got it under contract, sight unseen.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So interesting how it came under contract. So first of all, I'll back up a minute and say that I was familiar with the area as well as this particular complex. I had already written at least one offer for an identical unit in this same complex that I lost out on by $1,000. But I still consider it a win. So I'll explain. The offer that I submitted was for a certain amount of money, and it was a very fair deal for the seller at the time. And when I talked to my agent, we basically went back and forth on how to structure the offer in terms of escalation or any kind of clauses that we were going to include. And I have to say that was even last fall. We're barely approaching spring right now, and the market was very different then. It's wildly different. And so the terms were different than anything I would do now, but I lost it because they took this other offer that was $1,000 higher. However, 3 weeks later, I was sort of commiserating and having a beer and just looking at other properties. And I was on the phone with my agent, and I was so bummed. And I was like, man, I got to look at something else now. And he said, oh, well, chin up. We're going to find something. And I loved that because I needed that. I hung up the phone with him, finished dinner, and 10 minutes later, he called and says, so they're falling out of escrow right now over a sliding glass door. And I was like, what? A sliding glass door? And it was at that moment that I was informed the competing offer asked for repairs. Mine did not. So the seller that accepted this offer, they didn't end up falling out of escrow. It was close. We were contacted our agent was contacting us to be the backup offer, make sure that we still wanted to do that. I said, absolutely. And we found out that the repairs cost over $3,000. So if they had taken our offer, they would have actually walked away with more money.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, that's how it always works. In hindsight, when you see these things, yes.
Right.
So what was the asking price of the one that you got?
Unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So asking price was $235,
okay,
which was slightly under market for the time. And I'm sure that might sound low for the day and age that we're in, but it was just slightly under market in that moment. My offer was $250,000 with escalation to $280,000, which would have been just above market, in $1,000 increments with proof of competing offers. So in other words, I was asking my agent, please require the selling or the listing agent to send you those purchase and sale agreements and any other documentation needed to justify an escalation clause coming into effect. So I was offering $250,000.
So interesting, because you can't do that in other states. I know for sure in North Carolina, you cannot do the escalation. And, so wow, what a fun tool to work with.
It was.
So what were the repairs once you got in there, once you saw it?
Great question. So I made the offer on a Wednesday from the plane, and I was down in Arizona for 4 days. And I was looking at other properties. Like I said, when I'm down there, I'm always looking at other properties. And I had looked at one with one of my agents and we work with a team of agents too. And so looking at these other properties and found one, texted my lead agent and said, can you run comps on this? I want to do a fix and flip, not a fix and hold. And he called, and he never just called. He always texts first. And I was like, uh-oh. So I picked up the phone and he said, I'm absolutely happy to run comps on that for you, or you can just be under contract with the one you made an offer on. So the problem was we were leaving, let me back up. So it was a Saturday afternoon and planning to leave Sunday morning or afternoon even. There was no time to get a showing in. So technically, yes, I bought it sight unseen.
Oh my goodness.
And then the repairs, there was nothing to go off of. Even my agent was like, what we can do is when we schedule the inspection, I can have the agent call you and you can absolutely ask any questions of them. And I happen to work with this particular inspection company often. I have a very good working relationship with them. Pro tip, find yourself an agent that smiles when he talks about inspectors, because that means that they have a good working relationship. And I knew, and I was confident with that. Based on the inspection, the repairs would have been very minor. So potentially it could have been, if I had done everything, could have been about $3,000. Okay. And I knew that I wasn't going to have to do everything because they were all very, very minor things that came up on the inspection. Again, rare. It's very rare to find a property like that with an inspection like that and an inspector who is more than willing to share everything with you openly and say, hey, this looks great as is. And that's exactly what happened. So diamond in the rough in that respect.
Very nice. So you get it under contract for $250.
$250. Mm-hmm.
So right at that, and they were asking $235.
They were, and it was also a 72-hour sale. So some of those pop up here and there. Tough to get those under contract because your goal is to get them off the market before they do an open house. And that's exactly what happened with this deal. They did accept the offer of $250, so there was no escalation, thankfully. But even if there was, again, diamond in the rough property, it would have been instant equity regardless, given what the market has done.
So what's the market value of it now?
It's between $295 and $310, depending, maybe higher.
Awesome. That is incredible. So when did you purchase this property? When did you close on it?
December 4th, 2021.
Okay. So you started your education program in October, and then you had your first project. Wow. That is awesome. So listeners out there, education is so important, and it build your confidence and to get those deals. And, that's not what everybody does. But again, how I talked about you before, you are active, you put, actions behind everything that you do. So bravo to you. All right.
Thank you.
So the intention was to have a place for you to go visit, but then you're also going to Airbnb. And I do remember you saying, they don't allow short-term Airbnbs. It has to be 30 plus days. So how did you get around that?
Very interesting question. So I am by nature, and you know me, I'm a rule follower. I don't like to knowingly break rules or to encourage others to do that. However, in this case, we also knew that the HOA was off-site and that they weren't really penalizing other short-term rental owners. There's been more information I've gained since closing on it and operating the Airbnb. But the other piece of that, and this is, I think, crucial to know, is that I do screen everybody who requests to book my place. And whether that's on Airbnb or another platform, I try to always accept the ones that check out, so they have decent reviews and they're asking for 3 weeks or more. Reason being, now that I know how the HOA functions and what they do, and I'm getting to know some of the people in the complex as well, there would have to be several steps in the process in order to prove that I was going against their 30-day minimum. Not that I'm encouraging that, but it was less risk than some of the other complexes, some of the smaller complexes in the area, where they have their HOA that literally walks around and looks at stuff. And this is a little bit more, as I mentioned, relaxed. So I always try to operate within the confines, but occasionally I have that, okay, we've got like 2 weeks open here. I need to get that booked up. I'll just run a quick little special and it won't break the bank. And I screen my tenants big time.
Perfect. Very well done. All right. So how did you finance this place? That's my next question. I was looking on my list here. How did you finance it?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So as you mentioned, I did start my education program with real estate investing in October. I went into that program knowing that I was going to purchase this type of property, but what I didn't go into with was the knowledge of utilizing hard money lenders or private money lenders, basically other people's money, as we keep talking about.
Amen.
Yes. So I didn't have that information. Knowing what I knew at the time, I went in with it and discussed with my coaches and other students in the program. I'm going conventional on this deal. So conventional loan is basically a personal loan in my name, my personal name, because again, remember I had a little bit of a nest egg that I could invest from the sale of my home. Yeah. And so I was able to go conventional on it. And I however, would say, if I were to go back and do it again, I would still go conventional on it. because it's not in my personal name anymore, which I can talk more about in a minute. But the loan itself, where the percentage rates were and the type of loan that I was structuring, which was a conventional loan to fund a second home that also qualifies as a vacation rental for any length of time. And again, rule follower me wants to make sure that I'm being very upfront with my lender, title and escrow, as well as my agent, and make sure that everything is on the up and up in terms of insurance and loan structure. So the interest rate that I was able to lock in was 3.875%.
Wow.
Gone up an entire point since then. And that's on a conventional loan. And I feel like the way that it was structured was perfect for the moment. If I was going to do another deal, not redo this one, but do another one, I would not approach it the same way. Not now.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing all that. So let's get into the numbers here. So how much did you project that would come in monthly for this project?
So that's a great question, because going in, I was looking at what things were renting for at the time in the area, in the complex even, and then in the surrounding areas, territories, whatever. And I was finding that people were able to successfully rent about $2,500 to $3,000 a month-ish.
For one bedroom, that's awesome.
For a one bedroom, one bathroom, it's like less than 800 square feet. It doesn't feel that way when you're in it. But again, sparsely and comfortably furnished is the key. Then after we closed and looking at everything, and thank you, agents, you've been so great. And I got 6 days to go down there and get it set up, really. And remember, I'm coming from Washington, so I really have to have my ducks in a row before I go. I was looking online, and it was the week before I went down there, and I found people were successfully renting monthly, no joke, like almost $4,000 a month.
Wow.
So in terms of numbers, I wasn't sure, but I didn't see how it could fail, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Super, super smart. So you close. What is your mortgage payment on this?
$1,200 a month.
$1,200. And is there an HOA fee that you have to pay?
Yeah, it's about $260.
Okay, that's not horrible. And
No.
so you said my next question here. You were there for 6 days. You only had 6 days to set it up. And did you already have a guest booked, like ready to come? Like, how did all that work?
Oh my gosh. So this is one of the most fun stories that I'm sharing these days, because I know we are always up against, we are our own worst enemy. And painting yourself into that corner before you even get out, it doesn't do you any good. So I had 6 days, closed on December 4th, flew down December 10th, and left on the 16th. So in that 6 days, I had to go in and determine, what am I keeping? What am I not keeping? Because this place came fully furnished.
That's amazing. And I bet that other one wasn't even furnished. The first one.
No.
See, there you go. And
it would have been negotiable, but not worth it.
Right. And the furnishings, I mean, that's a huge part of setting up Airbnb. So keep going.
Right. So with Airbnb, yeah, it has to be furnished. And looking at the furniture that was in there, again, find yourself a great agent, because our agent did the final walkthrough, like with his cell phone. And as he's doing the walkthrough, I'm saying, okay, so what size is the bed? So I had prepared him and said, I need you to take a tape measure, please. And he did. And he said, this is a full-size bed. You're going to want to replace that. So I knew that going in. I did not know the exact dimensions of the room. Like, I had an approximate, and so did my agent. But also, I was able to make a list of what I knew was in the unit and what I knew would need to be replaced in advance. So I had this list, and it wasn't just a Kimi writes down a list. It was one of my fabulous famous spreadsheets where I have like the room it's in, what kind of furniture it is, what color it is, what the market value is on the Scottsdale buy, sell, trade, Facebook Marketplace, and offer up scenes. So I had already had everything priced out, everything I didn't want to keep for the most part, what I needed to replace, which included a ceiling fan, all of the bedroom furniture, and some extra little furnishings, like an oversized, I call it the ugly red chair. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. It was just, I couldn't believe anybody would have it. But when you're willing to go in and you have a plan of, I'm going to walk in there on December 10th, pull everything to the center of the room that I'm getting rid of, take pictures of it first thing in the morning in good light and list it all on day one of my trip, I was able to literally get rid of everything that I didn't want. And I even found some cool stuff for free that I ended up getting while there just from being resourceful. So a lot of that comes from planning, but a lot of it also comes from communication with my agent who knew what I was needing and what I wasn't. And because I also have a small residential design background, I ordered all the bedroom furniture. Remember, just one bedroom. I ordered the mattresses and the headboard and all of that stuff that makes stay, in my opinion. I ordered that from Washington to be delivered the day after I arrived. So I was risking a lot. I was basically making that purchase with the assumption that my flight wouldn't be delayed or canceled. Yeah. But I also knew at the time, even with restrictions and everything, it was a smaller airport. The chances of my flight being canceled were little. And I knew I was getting a queen size bed. I put more money into the mattress than I did into the headboard itself, but it's still a beautiful headboard. And I had all this research done in advance. I probably had 20 days before I flew down to prepare myself for this. So, and I used them completely. 6 days. In that 6 days, like I said, I sold stuff, I purchased some things, but the big pieces that I needed to stay in the main living areas, the dining room table and chairs, the sofa, bed, couch, those things are so expensive. They're like over $1,000 right now.
And heavy.
Yeah, very heavy. And again, remember, I'm several states away. So if I can't get this stuff done immediately, it might not be a go on that trip, which means I'm sitting on a few months of mortgage payment with no bookings because no couch. So thankfully, graciously, the couch stayed. It was a queen size pull-out sofa bed. It's beautiful. I love it. And it's neutral, which was key. I did have to purchase like a slipper chair and some bar stools just to neutralize the unit even more. And then I went to a local furniture store to finish furnishing the bedroom. I sold the whole bedroom set that was there for $200, linens and everything, dresser. But I mean, be willing to sell at rock bottom prices to get what you need. I sold the whole thing for $200 and then I paid, and this is money well spent. Everything has value. And after I set up that bed on my own, I was like, okay, this is not going to work for the rest of the furniture. I paid the same furniture company to come in, set up the dresser and the nightstand tables that I ordered from their store in person where I went. $100. They came in and it was done in, no joke, 4 minutes. Worth every penny.
Absolutely.
And I'm so grateful. Yeah.
So you get everything set up and you're getting ready to leave and head back. Do you have any bookings at this point?
I had inquiries. So, yeah. And with those inquiries, and I should also mention the paint.
Oh, and you had to paint. I do remember that. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So 725 square feet of semi-gloss periwinkle blue. It just made your eyeballs hurt and scream. And so I was up till 2 a.m. every night that I was there getting it done, and worth it. But then the day I was getting ready to leave, I received an inquiry as I was heading to the airport. And it was somebody that said, looking for a place to crash. So excited to come to your unit. It was 1 day notice.
Oof.
So for many reasons, it wasn't going to work anyway, but I just did my due diligence and clicked on his name anyway. All of his reviews said that he smoked cigarettes in other people's units and ruined them. And this is an example of not letting your emotion take over, even when you're super excited. I had to take a minute and really think about what was best for me in that moment. And I knew that this tenant was not best for me or my unit. I worked way too hard to get it and to make it beautiful. I did all the pictures and everything myself, and I was just it was too much my baby, which I'm learning. It can't be that way.
No.
But I was protective of it, as anybody should be. It's your property. Mm-hmm. And I responded and said, I'm sorry, I'm unable to host you on these dates. And I blocked out the dates for 2 or 3 more days, which also, like I said, the only problem wasn't this person's reviews. It was my cleaning company had to go in. They had to go get everything set up after I left. And I just really wanted them to have appropriate time. It's a new start. Things can be rocky if I wasn't familiar with it. They weren't familiar with me until I met them. And so it was the best decision because 2 days later, on December 18th, I received an inquiry for booking December 20th through January 20th.
Wonderful.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Well, and what were they paying, by the way?
Oh my gosh. So that first booking was over $3,500.
Perfect. With a $1,200 mortgage.
Uh-huh.
That is amazing. So before we wrap this up, I know people in the back of their mind, they're like, she's in Washington State. This is, states away. So how do you manage your on-site people? You just mentioned your cleaning team. So do you have any other people that you use that are, nearby or on-site that you can count on?
Super great question. I love answering this question. So I'll go back to the cleaning team for just a minute. I had one of my famous lists in my Excel spreadsheet, 15 different cleaning companies within that 20 days before I got down there to actually interview and figure out who I was going to hire. So list of 15 companies, knowing that it's a hot rental market, short-term rentals specifically. From that list, I narrowed it down to 12 before I got on a plane to fly down there and furnish it or refurnish it, as it were. And only 2 of the companies were willing to meet with me in person. And the first one that I met with in person, I just had a really great gut feeling about it. The owner himself came down, looked at the unit, explained to me that they would be my eyes and ears on the ground. They take about 15 to 30 pictures each cleaning.
Oh, wow.
They were not, but they were not the cheapest, and that was okay. And then the second company that I had lined up to interview or at least go meet and see their facility, they canceled. And I wasn't going to just throw that out, but it was that I had a tight time frame. I went with my gut and what I felt, and I know I shouldn't make decisions in emotion, but in this case, it paid off in dividends because that owner explained to me exactly how they do things, made me feel very much at ease. He was personable. He said, if you have any questions about this area, this market, if you need a best practice sheet or whatever, just send it to me. I'll help you. And he did. He fulfilled it. We have had, I want to say, 3 or 4 interactions directly, and he's just been phenomenal. A lot of the reviews I've gotten compliment the linen, the towels, and the setup, which is the little bottles of shampoo, conditioner, and soap, just to get the guests situated in the unit. That is a direct result of a fabulous cleaning company, and they absolutely are eyes and ears on the ground. Super happy with them. They have made it possible for me to do what I'm doing, but it also takes a village. So in this few months since I've closed on the unit, I've made friends with people in the actual complex that I'm in, good friends that I love to see when I'm there. Go out for a beer, go grab some pizza, hang out, talk, walk dogs, whatever. And then I also have plenty of friends in the area now as an extension of doing more home tours, meeting with more real estate agents, and connecting with people that I was friends with years ago, but they moved to Arizona, lost touch with. Now they're in the area, they're close by, and they've helped in such a huge way.
That is so important to have boots on the ground that can go over there and check out things. If you have a, problem tenant staying there, a guest or, whatever you call them, and they can go by and just kind of drive by it. No, everything looks fine. So I think this is a home run. So average, what are you profiting each month from this project?
The average is probably, in terms of profit, $1,000 to $2,000 a month, just depending on the time of year. Scottsdale is very much a seasonal market, but it does rent year round. It just depends on the time of year.
Well, I think this is definitely a win. And if I'm ever out in Arizona, I'm going to make sure you block off some time for me. But thank you, Kimi, for sharing that. What a great project. And you did that in just a few months with an education program and nailed it. So the next half of the podcast is what makes Kimi a badass, which truly you are. So I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
So first of all, I hate choosing just one book because I'm an avid reader, and I would pick 2. So Educated by Tara Westover.
Okay.
Incredible survivor story, and really makes you check where you're coming from and your background and how you approach situations, business situations, real estate, and otherwise. Fabulous book. I could read it several times over.
It has a pencil on the cover, correct?
It does.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. Keep going.
Yes. And then the other one would be, I can't choose, but it would be Just Mercy or The Sun Does Shine. So Just Mercy is written by Brian Stevenson, who is a lawyer, and he was Anthony Ray Hinton's lawyer. Anthony Ray Hinton wrote The Sun Does Shine. There was a movie called Just Mercy. It was based on these books, but I strongly suggest read the books first before you watch the movie, always.
Well, I already watched the movie, so.
Damn. Oh, no.
I know. But yes, that was a great, great, great story. Thank you for sharing those. And a lot of people do business books, so I love that you did 2 books that were, everyone, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yes, good for you. Yeah, it's a great book. All right. The first A in Badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
It's 2, really. Came from the same person, my Auntie Karen, and she is my very favorite auntie, and she had a huge hand in raising me. She always told me, no expectations, no disappointment, and you always have a choice. And it's very true. All of it.
Yep. I love it. Very smart, Auntie Karen. Good job. All right. The D in Badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
So besides, wanting my daughter to have a better life than I had, which I think every parent does, I just feel like there's always room for improvement. And so I truly do wake up every day excited to learn. I have this insatiable thirst for learning. And I also subscribe to the notion of, I prefer not to say I don't or didn't have time, and instead take full responsibility and say, I didn't utilize my time wisely, or my time management skills failed in that area today or this week or whatever. It's the same thing with like diet and exercise. So I can't eat junk food and allow laziness to take hold and then expect that I can exercise my way out of that. It just doesn't work that way. So it's all framing your mindset, and that is enough of a drive, if you pay attention to it every single day, to get yourself out of bed, do better than you did yesterday.
So I read in your full bio that you play 8 instruments. What instruments do you play? I'm a musician myself. So what do you play?
Oh my gosh. So primarily piano, but I also play flute, guitar, bass, drums, clarinet, alto sax, and I sing.
And your voice is your 8th instrument. Very nice. So I was a clarinetist.
I play a little violin.
Oh, yeah. I was a clarinetist myself, also played flute and alto saxophone. So I know.
Which one did you start on?
I started on clarinet. How about you?
That's the one to start on in terms of woodwinds. I started on alto sax and then went flute, clarinet. I did it in reverse order.
I did it clarinet, then saxophone, then flute, just because, that they were quick and easy to, once you learn one, that they all kind of fit together. Oboe, though, you can keep the oboe. I don't need that. So.
Oh, no. No, thank you.
All right. The second A in Badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
I've got a few. Reading every day. Even as a voracious reader, I'm a mom and obviously a real estate investor. It's so hard to set aside the time to do it. So I'm trying to force myself every day, even just 10 minutes. Another goal, I'd like to fix and flip a property, ideally in my area, and acquire another short-term rental in Arizona, or a long-term rental, just depends. And I'm also working really hard to clear out toxicity from my life.
That's a big one. And isn't it so obvious when you are working on yourself really hard, you're, investing in yourself with education, you're learning all these strategies and you're fixing your mindset, and then you're around someone and you're like, they just drain me. So very smart to remove toxic people from your life, because and you are as good as the 5 people you surround yourself with or something, or, you always want to be surrounding yourself with people who are going to push you even further. So.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. Oh, goodness, girl. You just hit home with me on that one. All right.
Got you in the field, huh?
The first S in badass is systems. What systems do you have in place? And I know, I have 10 systems in place. I know what you're going to say. What systems do you have in place that help you achieve success? Just the top 10.
Just the top 10. Okay. So number one, my calendar. Mm-hmm. So I use a Google-based calendar because I like how it reminds me and then kind of virtually slaps me in the face when I don't pay attention to the reminders. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist in my life. No
so
joke.
True.
So if I forget to put something in there, it's gone forever. Yep. It's just gone. Rarely does that happen, but I am human. And again, I'm big on personal responsibility. So I have absolutely had times where I've failed to put things in my calendar and then someone else besides myself suffers. And so got to be in my calendar. The other thing is, I even have like a pen and a notepad right here. I literally write everything down. And then when I have a few minutes, I try to digitize my notes, ideally, because you think about it once when you hear it, you think about it twice when you write it down, you think about it 3 times when you read it again, and 4 times when you type it back in. So you're giving your brain that connectivity time that it really needs in order to process thoroughly. I even have an inbox. I even have a real inbox on my desk. So my home office, there's an inbox right here, and my daughter knows if she needs something signed, it's got to go in mom's inbox, otherwise I don't see it. So wow. It's a system, yep, and you can adopt it. Even at 8 years old, you can adopt it. Emails, digital clutter. So again, I mentioned I'm clearing out toxicity from my life, unsubscribing to things when I need to or want to, and then also as soon as I've dealt with it, I file it in an appropriate folder so I can go back and find it. It's just got to be out of my inbox because it's too much otherwise. I also, with my STR property, every week, typically midweek, I set aside time to go into all my listing platforms, make sure I'm current and up to date with market trends as well as pricing, of course, and see if there's any room for improvement in my listing. So are all of my amenities up to date? Sometimes these platforms add amenities. You got to go in and update and check things, and so I do that. Open and transparent communication always. So when I'm talking to a business associate or a friend, I'm just very open, and I'm also transparent. I don't have to share all the nitty-gritty details, but I also fully believe in transparency. And then surviving versus thriving. So survival mode, and I've taught tons of professional development on this particular topic. Survival mode is when you can only do those immediate tasks in front of you. If you're finding that that's where you're at, I know I do it from time to time. Okay, how do I get out of survival mode and into thriving mode? Lots of prioritizing, lots of written notes, and putting myself back into a time blocking mindset as well. I can dedicate 20 minutes to this, and that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to move on. It might not be done, but it's going to be started. There's some progress that's made, and if there's nothing else I've learned from the homeschool program, it's better to have it done than perfect. And as a perfectionist, that's a really tough pill to swallow. It really is, but it works. It works.
Well, how did I know you're going to have a shit ton of systems?
Oh my God.
I've had a couple coaching calls with you and I'm like, oh my goodness, she has everything. But I do like that you talked about the done is better than perfect, and Coach Cheryl with Cheryl O'Hearn, who is our good friend at Homeschooled. And that's what she says all the time. And I'm like, damn, she's right. Because I'm one of those perfectionists where I'm like, oh, hold on, I'm not ready to send this out yet. But then I'm like, just done is better than perfect. So thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's transferable too. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's life. And then also, even with my STR, my binder, you proofread my binder for me and you're like, girl, you are worlds ahead. And this is great. But remember, I do time blocking and time management too. I had that binder done before I left Washington to go and refurnish the place. But I really wanted, and it was great that I had your set of eyes on it, because I was able to get it to a point where until I went down the next time, which was just a few weeks ago, it was perfect in its own right. It had everything the guests and tenants needed. And I've literally never gotten a complaint about it. So I'm going to just go with it was better to have it done than perfect.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah. The final S in badass is success. What does success mean to Kimi?
Mutual efficiency with my business partner. So this is not the same thing as self-sufficiency. I'm going to always be the face of the business, for lack of a better term, relational aspects of the business. I'm the one taking calls and chatting with clients and associates alike, as well as agents. And then my business partner does all the numbers and all the calculations and a lot of the analysis behind the scenes. It is absolutely crucial. Anyone that you're working with, whether it's a business partner or a client or someone else, you've got to be efficient together. You've got to be able to function as a unit. It works very well 99% of the time. That little 1% is just that human nature that you have to get out of your own head and sometimes take yourself out of the mix for a minute so that you can see it from someone else's perspective. And then bandwidth. Bandwidth is huge. So bandwidth to see dreams come to fruition and also help others, that is absolutely what success means to me. It doesn't mean that I have everything mastered, and it doesn't mean that I'm an expert. It just means I have something to offer, and here's the foundation on which I stand. Can I help? And I want to do that. And then seeing and living before and afters. So I just went and did some decor updates in that condo, and it is so amazing. I did the photos myself and got them edited. They're going to be online this weekend on the listing platforms. Seeing those before and afters, even the when I closed to now, it's just come leaps and bounds, and it's so cool. And you can see the transformation right in front of your face. It's great. I love it.
Well, the sky is the limit for you, Kimi. Only success in your future. You do everything with so much action behind it. And I'm so very proud of you and what a success story you are. So thank you for being on the show. How can people find you online if they have any questions about anything?
So truth be told, I'm not on social media in terms of posting very much, but I'm very responsive if you send me a direct message. So typically Instagram, you can also find me on Facebook. My Instagram is private. So if you want to follow me, just send me a request.
And what is it?
I'll accept. It's at runso, S-E-W, fast_8. So I run half marathons quite a bit. I like to quilt and sew, and I would aspire to be fast. And then 8 is my magic number.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was fantastic. What an inspiration to listeners out there who are considering getting into real estate investment or maybe just Airbnbs. And you did it in such a short time and are making a ton of money off this 1-bedroom property miles and miles away from you. So thank you for sharing it. And thank you for listening. And we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.